Once again, thank you everybody for tuning in. This is Keith Wilkins, Tampa Bay music columnist for St. Pete Examiner. I would like to thank, of course, my guest today, Jason Jennings, of course, who you've already heard from. And also, if we could, too, while we're here, could you please introduce the beautiful lady sitting next to me here?
Well, that would be Tara Kramer of Rapunzel Rock Agency. In fact, Tara's going to go through yet another name change this week upcoming because we are getting married Wednesday, May 8th, and there is going to be a major bash following that. So stay tuned to my Facebook page as well as hers in order to scope out the details on that. But Tara and I met while I was on tour with John Oliva last summer, and at the last show on tour in London, I couldn't help but notice this striking blonde in the front row, although she was on the wrong side. You know, she was over there on Oliva's side. But as fate would have it, she was making a trip with her daughter, Sadie, over to the Orlando area a couple weeks after I was returning to the States. And so after numerous trips back and forth, we decided to just cut to the chase, and we're tying the knot, sealing the deal, May 8th.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so
I
much.
heard about that, and definitely congratulations to the two of you. And that's probably going to be the hardest gig you've had in your whole life.
No, I'm certain of that because it's my second marriage. That first one, that was a gig, from hell. So.
Well, yeah.
It'll be a good birthday present.
It is my birthday that day as well.
Oh, it is? Yep. Oh, well, okay. So congratulations on the marriage and happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. It just simplifies things. It's like there's no way I can forget my wedding anniversary.
Well, you're smart. You know how many guys do that? Both my brother and my oldest brother and my father did the same thing. They had their anniversaries either the day before or the day after their birthdays. So it's like, a guy can't forget. He won't get in trouble.
It's a lock. Yeah, it's a lock. You won't put your nads on the chopping block. I can say that.
Well, at least not for that.
Yes.
But anyway, like I said, congratulations.
Thank you.
Is not that she's not a beautiful woman. Obviously, she is. So I can see why you're attracted to her. But come on, I know what did it. It's the accent.
The accent has a great deal.
Absolutely.
To do with it. But also, Tara's involved in the industry, and Rapunzel Rock Agency actually represents 3 Tampa Bay artists at this current time. Myself, Jerry Outlaw from the band Bogus Pomp,
right,
and from John Oliva's Pain, and blues artist Wayne Johnson. And she's been responsible for getting us all mega amounts of airplay, not only in the UK but also pushing the LA market and all points in between. So
awesome.
When you have somebody in your family and close to your heart like that really understands the nature of what it is you do, then that's just a win-win situation. Too many times I see situations where a gal falls in love with a musician. She falls in love with James Dean. Then she drags him out of the club and wants him to become Fred McMurray.
Right. God, no.
On, man.
Yeah.
That's what entertainment's about, bro. And you're here, and you concur, right?
I do concur.
Well, he'll find out soon enough anyway. Anyway, Jason, for those listening who may not be familiar with your background and everything, give us a little rundown to start things off, up to this point.
Oh, let's see how I can encapsulate. I started playing bass back in 1975, not because I was abundantly endowed with talent, but because everybody in my neighborhood wanted to be Johnny Spotlight lead guitar player, and fate just had dictated to me via my younger brother, who was a phenomenal guitar player, that no matter how many guitar players were hanging out, they always needed a bass player. So I felt pretty secure in just picking up things off of everybody's back, and I loved music, so it was just a huge amount of dedication and inspiration and perseverance, which we can just say stubbornness and hard-headedness, basically, that kept me in the fold there. I left Louisville, Kentucky in early '79, hitchhiked to Florida, because I figured if you're going to starve for your art, don't do it in Central Park in New York City, where the winters are brutal and harsh. Do it where there's palm trees and beaches and drinks with little umbrellas.
Smart man.
So I started off down here. Actually, I was looking for a rock band, and I wound up playing in a bluegrass band for about a year and a half. And that was really a fortunate experience for me, because even though Kentucky was, is the bluegrass capital of the world, I never really was a student of the craft there. And working with the band Bardstown Junction, which was named for a town 26 miles away from where I grew up, we didn't have a drummer. It was a traditional bluegrass band, so the bass was in essence the drums. It was the whole rhythm section. So the year and a half I spent with them taught me a great deal about meter and just playing with feel and keeping it simple, but knowing your role in the orchestra, basically. People laugh about country music, for the music guys out there, 1 5 1 5 1 5,
right.
Do 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 do. Well, there's a lot more to it than that, and over the course of time, I kind of sort of developed a drummer in my left heel that I'll put up against most live drummers. My meter became really good as a result of that. I worked in several bands through the 80s and 90s in this area. Culprit was the first band I put together with Dana Piper and my brother Dana Jennings on guitar after he had migrated down here. And through those associations, that's how I met the guys in Sabotage, the Oliva brothers in particular. And we were pretty much a mutual admiration society, which also will bring us around to the one track of mine called Let It Bang that John sings on, because John and I had a conversation about the Beatles, and I found out that he was this extreme Beatles fan. He knew more about the band than anybody else I'd ever spoken to, and I just was driving home thinking, it's really kind of weird. Here's this head-banging guy who's all about the Beatles, and hence the title Let It Bang, kind of,
Gotcha,
play on words, let it be, nonsense lyric involved, kind of like Lennon and McCartney would do. But I wrote that when I was about 25, and it was basically written on the way home from seeing John and getting back to my abode at that point in time, scrawling down the lyrics and just running with the idea. It really doesn't sound like the Beatles in my mind. It sounds more like Rock's era, Aerosmith meets early Alice Cooper, but
right.
Nothing wrong with that. My book neither. From that point on,
Well, I tell you what. Excuse me. I'm sorry, Jay. Since you've already set it up and everything, why don't we go ahead and play Let It Bang now?
Why not give them a dose?
Yeah, give them a dose of it, since you already basically set it up for us and everything. And we'll go ahead and play it, and then we'll get right back and continue it on. How about that?
Very good.
All right, everybody, here we go. This is Let It Bang, and it's got on this, who's all playing on Let It Bang?
Well, we got Sonny Harlan on drums, who played drums for Rebel Pride for quite a while, and he is also the guitar player in the punk band The Murder Junkies. I'm on bass and rhythm guitar. Matt Laporte, dearly departed brother of mine, is on lead, and John Oliva provides the vocals for this.
All right. So, everybody listening, Pirate Radio Network, here we go. Let It Bang.
Summer's heat. I'm running wild.
Okay. All right. And that was Let It Bang. That was Jason Jennings, John Oliva, of course, the late Matt Laporte, and
Sonny Harlan.
Oh, that's right, Sonny Harlan. And so, wow, that was definitely someone out there mentioned it in a way, and it says it kind of had that Alice Cooper-esque thing. So, not the Beatles at all.
Just tongue-in-cheek wordplay, and that's it, you know.
But anyway, so take it from there. We were talking. You brought us up to the Let It Bang.
Well, yeah, and during that period, I had my band Culprit together, so a lot of times Oliva would be like on tour in Europe and opening for Iron Maiden or Judas Priest, and then he'd come back to the States, so he'd ring up me and my brother and say, what are you guys doing, you know? So we wind up hooking up to do these Led Zeppelin tributes in the clubs. John's whole thing was just don't make me sing anything I wrote. I've been doing it for the last 3 months on the road. So we had a lot of fun doing that stuff, and we did several successful mini club tours with that format in mind. But, you know, the friendship endured, and John would bring me and my brother into the studio to work on various demos and things like that. As we got into the 90s, I wound up playing in a band called Hollywood Dave and the Hotheads, which was a very popular draw on the Gulf beaches. Hollywood Dave was an extremely talented stand-up comic with a guitar. And he was the man of the moment. You know, he was just totally the master of the moment as well. He could make up a song about anything. You know, if a waitress was cleaning off a table in front of us during one song, the next song was about how fine her keister looked or something like that. That was a very successful act, and I worked with those guys for about 3.5 years before I moved on into working in another situation or 3 with my brother. Ultimately, during this period, I was a married man, but that marriage went totally south, and found it necessary to get out of Florida for a while. Went up to Michigan and worked in Mr. Attitude, again with the infamous Dana Piper. And made my way to Kentucky, where I became a single dad after the mother deserted and kind of left me holding the bag there.
Yeah,
So,
and like I told you earlier, I know how that feels. I was in the same situation,
well,
so
you know,
I feel for you.
A lot more of that going on out there than most people would think. And in fact, in Kentucky, when I was applying for benefits, they were like, "Let me get this straight. You know, you're the custodial parent." You know, they were blown away by that kind of thing. But you know, real men step up to the plate.
Yeah,
so.
you know, well, the funny thing is, not to go off on a tangent here, but just to set base on that, I never knew how many single dads there were until I became one.
Until you became one, exactly.
And then all of a sudden, you know, 6 years ago when I became a single dad, all of a sudden I had all these co-workers that I work with and friends and this and that, or they come up to me and they're like, "Hey man, I raised my kid, you know, by myself too, and this and that, and wow man, you know," and I'm like, you know, never knew. It's not as, you know, it's just not as known how many single dads there are out there.
Feel like the Lone Ranger
absolutely,
for a period
absolutely.
there until you know, and it's like we don't need to meet up anywhere for a support group. You know, thankfully we have Facebook for that now.
Yeah, exactly.
But another interesting thing about the 90s was, and late 80s as well, was my friendship with the fellows in Dolores Telescope, because when I'd find myself in a situation where I was gigless, I generally tended to hang with those guys. I knew their song catalog inside out. You know, they largely did a 95% original show, and then they threw some choice covers in. And in fact, I'm very happy to say on my new project, Jerry Outlaw, myself, and Ricky Wilcox, a drummer from Dolores Telescope, will be going into the studio and recutting a classic Dolores tune as well. And that will be on my next CD.
Awesome.
So,
you going to tell us which one it is?
Well, no, I don't want to let that cat out of the bag yet.
You can't blame me for trying.
Yeah, well, I'll give you points for that, but nope, not yet. But I'll be happy to bring it on air and play it, though, when it's done.
Absolutely. Please do.
But there's so many talented folks that have stepped up. It's like we're only on the second track on this disc right now, and on this particular one, I'm going to have 4 members of JLP. The big guy sitting this one out. But I also have the extraordinary talents of Mr. Jay Bailey. And this whole project is being recorded at Sweet Spot Studios in Largo, which is owned and operated by Jim Fox, who's a very talented musician in his own right. And he's had several notable people in there, like Circle to Circle did an album there. Matt Laporte has done all kinds of work there, or had done in the past. Oliva's work there. Dave Ellefson from Megadeth. And Jim's band Worlds Divide is definitely one to keep an eye out for. They just did a show at the State Theater, I think, last month. Just, everybody's stepping up to the plate on this. On the first track, I have the talents of Pat Buffo on vocals. I also have Jerry Outlaw on that one. I have John Spinelli on drums for that one. So, there's just such an abundance of talent in the Tampa Bay area. And
Absolutely.
For me to think of it as a solo effort, it's really not. It's kind of amalgamated, and I just want to bring in the players that I feel are the strongest for the individual tunes, and then see what they do with it. I'm not a ball buster in the studio. I want to know what the musician is getting out of this, and if we can run with that, or if we can conjure it up into a nice gumbo, then okay, cool. That's where it needs to go. But I really want the guys to be involved to the extreme where they're comfortable and they feel good about their contribution. It makes the song much more personal to them as well, and that's what I'm really striving for with that.
Well, it definitely sounds like. I mean, you said you just you wanted to get a whole bunch of the talented local musicians on there and everything. You definitely did a good job of that. I mean, the ones you just listed off playing on there are definitely all extremely talented.
A-listers.
So you definitely got quite the lineup on that on the project. That's for sure.
No doubt about that. And again, I got to give a proper nod to Rapunzel Rock Agency, because the Tampa Bay area musicians have suddenly come into a refocus. It's like a lot of things, and especially I'm always vicious about saying something negative where Clear Channel is concerned. But generally, demographically in the United States, they don't look any further south than Atlanta to see what's hot and what's not. Well, who cares? Who cares about that? We're down here in Florida. We got a lot to say, so let's get out there and say it. That's what I'm all about.
Absolutely. Well, and I know we had, last time I was here, just a couple weeks ago, we were doing a radio show here, and we got on the same subject about that. And part of the main problem is part of the problem is the fact that all the big radio stations now, they are corporate. They don't. Back when this scene was in its heyday, 20 years ago, the big stations did pay attention to the local music scene, and they did have chunks of time set aside for local music and this and that. And nowadays it's just not like that. Yeah. And a lot of that is because it's corporate.
Does anybody remember when there used to be critical party information broadcast every day? It was like a listing of local guys playing in the local venues.
Yep.
Of course, ever since the recession and a little bit before that, we've had a lot of clubs fall off the map. And then after the recession, you had a lot of guys who got out of music because they had careers, that all of a sudden went scrambling to scrape the dust off their Stratocasters and put together these lackluster little three-piece bands and go out and underbook everybody that had stuck with it for so long. So it's kind of a sad state of affairs going on there, and a lot of throat slitting on the financial end. And the club owners, that haven't already gravitated to carry off key, basically are like going with the lowest bidder, so it kind of drives the talent quotient down. And and there are a lot of good acts that will go out there and play for a lower buck. They're good acts and they just want to play. But it is a shame that there's an abundance of talent and there's not enough clubs really to facilitate that at this point in time. That's the tough thing, is that we're all kind of climbing on top of each other, looking for position,
Yeah, and like you said, the main hindrance there and what's stopping that from expanding is, the economy. That's hit everybody hard, and even though there could be a market for more venues to pop up because of the abundance of talent that we do have in the area, unfortunately, with the economy the way it is, it's just you're not going to see that.
Yeah, you can say support live music until you're blue in the face, but if people don't have the means to support, well, there it lays.
Right.
And this was one of the interesting things I found about going to Europe as well, because this past summer's tour was the first time I'd ever been over. I was just totally blown away by the loyalty of the fans over there. For instance, and again, we were taking Hall of the Mountain King, Savage's landmark album, on the road for its 25th anniversary. So this was definitely something to take stock of. But the people that came out, if they were Sabotage fans 25 years ago, they are Sabotage fans
Yeah, they still are.
today. There's not that fickle fly-by-night nature going on over there. And they thrive on music. Everything centers around the summer festivals. Most folks that I ran into repeatedly, they set up their whole summer schedule based upon what the festivals are, and they network it that way. And it's really an extraordinary experience, very carnival-like, out of this world.
Yeah, and that it's funny you bring that up, because that was one of the things I was gonna ask you about. That is to reflect on your tour you had over there in Europe, because of the fact that Europe is notorious for the fans over in Europe. Definitely are loyal, and they're just big, and especially on the harder rock acts. A lot of the hard rock acts that do not break over here, or they break, but they seem to break bigger over in Europe.
Well, they're unswerving in their fealty for things that they have already grown accustomed to, but they are also viciously hungry. They have a voracious appetite for new stuff coming out. They have the time. They make the time to listen to what I've never heard of this band before. Instead of sloughing them off like somebody in the States might do, they'll listen. Next thing you know, word of mouth is generated. 2 years later, everybody knows about them.
Right.
It's a fantastic situation over there. They are just so musically hungry all the time.
It's one of those things where you wish you could still see that in certain areas around here.
Yeah, and I don't mean to be downing the market here, but
No.
I do want to provide like an objective point of view there, and it's like, okay, what are we missing here locally? Well, here's an area where perhaps we should be taking notes.
Right. Absolutely. So let's take us into another song here. Set one of the which one would you like to play next?
Well, here you go, Keith. Headspace would be my next selection, and this features again Matt Laporte on guitar and Sonny Harlan on drums, and I'm playing rhythm guitar and bass on this as well. Vocals are provided by Pat Buffo, who has turned into like the Renaissance man of Pinellas County rock and roll. He's a drummer one day, he's a lead vocalist the next. A lot of people would know him as the lead vocalist in Rebel Pride.
Right.
Then after Sonny Harlan departed, Pat jumped on the drum kit and was the lead vocalist and the drummer. But Pat and I have been writing songs together since about 1998, and again, he's featured on the new disc as well. And he's a dear brother of mine, and this song, I think you can relate to, is basically about finding yourself as a single dad and trying to figure out the next step.
All right. Well, here we go. Let's take a listen to it now. This is Headspace.
So it chose to believe nothing was hidden up your sleeve. There's laid plans of mice and men, surely be drawn to original sin. If there's life after death, there's life after you. Get away, taming the shrew. Never let you change a cockamamie point of view. Live in my head, rent free. Shadows growing longer, fading light. It's still so hard to make it through the night. I feel so out of place. But what the hell, I'm in it to win. It's life after death, it's life after you. Couldn't get away, taming the shrew. Never let you change my cockamamie point of view. Lived in my head when shadows grow longer, still I try to keep the faith and reach for the sky. It's total waste, I feel so out of place. But what the hell, I ain't it to win. No sense of time or space, goodbyes are being replaced. Into the void, I'm in it to win.
All right. And that was Headspace. Once again, everybody who's listening, once again, this is Keith Wilkins, the music columnist here in the Bay Area for the St. Pete Examiner. And, you know, what's funny is, and I swear I did not set it up this way. I just did, for those of you who read it, I just, I think it was like a couple days ago, I just did an article on Rebel Pride. And now of course, I was bringing you in here today, and, you know, the three tracks that you're bringing in are both featuring two members of Rebel Pride.
Well, I was in that band for 2.5 years, actually, myself. So
right.
So yeah, I've known those fellas for a long time. I know known Brian Jeffries since about 1985 or thereabouts. And Tommy Spittle, I first met when he was manager at the old gallery, I believe is what it was called, on St. Pete Beach. And you know, it's just funny how things entwine like that. We had started working on all kinds of tunes in a little subset band that was built out of Rebel Pride called Powerhouse. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the songs actually on Rebel Pride's It Is What It Is disc were tunes that Powerhouse had written together that migrated over to that CD after I'd left the band. But, you know, that's the way that goes. I made my contributions. Fortunately, they didn't take anything of mine outright. And I still remain very good friends with those guys to this day. And
that's good.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the main thing. As long as you can still keep some sort of, you know, friendship and everything, or
yeah, well,
you know,
it's kind of funny too, because as a graphic artist, I designed a lot of stuff for Rebel Pride too, and they've never been shy about giving me credit for that stuff as well. And you know, I did the same thing for John Oliva's Pain when I wasn't actually in that band. When Kevin Rotney was the bass player in JLP, I was still designing all the tour merchandise and backdrops and things like that. So I was always very much a part of both families at the end of the day.
And let's go into now what you're doing now. Tell everybody about you know, of course you're doing work with JOP.
Well,
and, and then also about your two things that you're doing locally right now. You're working on too, Trip Squared and Trip Cubed.
Trip Squared. This features the phenomenal talents of Chris Tripp, who's actually he has a burgeoning solo career as well. We first met in a local band. Selfish. We played together in that band I was in that band for about 8 years, and we formed a very solid friendship, and we started working outside of the band. Chris is an extremely talented writer as well, so we'll be recording a separate project with him, and I'll be bringing him in on the current project as well. Chris is just, I can't say it enough. He's a phenomenal person and a phenomenal talent, just a joy to work with. And, sometimes when you're surrounded by a band, it's like putting a blanket around you and there's that comfort zone. But when you throw yourself out there, like in the case of Trip Squared, where I tend to advertise that as 2 guys and 16 strings. It's all about Chris's 12 string and his vocals. I do not sing at all. I keep a mic up there plainly for sarcastic comments. There's no sense in heckling us because I can heckle us better. And if you try to heckle us, I will heckle you. So that's kind of the whole gist behind that. And then in the case of Trip Cubed, where we do it as a 3-piece, we bring in usually either John Spinelli or Pat Buffalo on drums. So again, there's that familial thing going on. We're all good friends. We've all worked several thousand gigs together in different formats, and it's just about keeping it lighthearted and fun. And therefore that's just extraordinary to me to have that kind of luxury. Because too often when you're like a career guy, which I hate to call myself that, but there you have it. When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. But Hollywood Dave used to tell me, if the fun factor ain't there, you shouldn't be either. And I seriously weigh those words.
Well, and that's the key. And, it's not just when you're in a band just by itself. It's any facet of this industry, no matter what you're doing. If you stop having fun at what you're doing, it's going to eat you alive. You're going to get burnt out. It's just you have to keep it fun.
That's exactly right.
But the key is sometimes trying to remember that and keeping it fun.
Well, I refer to that part of it as getting in touch with my inner juvenile delinquent. I always have to remember I'm still that kid inside that was in the garage way back in 1975 and 76. And actually, the new CD and some of the tunes are ones I've had laying around for a while, and some of the tunes have been written very recently. So there's a nice balance going on there. Like I mentioned, the Dolores Telescope tune, that's paying homage to some great friends of mine. In my opinion, my estimation, the best band in Tampa Bay that never got a record deal, and that's just a travesty of justice.
There's no one who's spent any decent amount of time in this area, even if you're just a fan of the music scene in this area. If you've been here for a decent amount of time, and you know who Dolores Telescope was.
Exactly right. Now, another aspect of this CD was I was over in England in January, and Tara and I went everywhere. We were in Liverpool, did the whole Beatle thing there. We were at the Cavern Club, talking shop there, and we spent an hour and a half at Abbey Road Studios in London checking out the facilities there, which was a gift from the gods, and I cannot thank the staff there enough. They were just so enormously warm to us. I'm standing in Studio 2 where the Beatles cut 190 tracks, and pianos being pointed out to me. You might want to touch that because John and Paul both played that one. And by the way, that's the B3 over there that Billy Preston played Get Back on. So you might want to touch that too.
And I can only imagine that. I mean, that's got to be very, inspirational.
Talk about the hair on your arms and neck standing up.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see being a musician not being in a place like that and not just all of a sudden just feeling inspired and,
it was another great little trip that we took. It took us about an hour and a half getting there and an hour and a half getting back. Was Headley Grange, where Led Zeppelin recorded many tracks from albums 3, 4, Houses of the Holy, Physical Graffiti. Fleetwood Mac and Genesis had both recorded there. Bad Company did their first album there. It's now a private residence. So we drove all the way there, jumped out of the car, took 2 minutes worth of snaps, jumped back in the car before they could sick the Dobermans on us.
And we broke down on the way home.
And we did break down on the way home, but man, it was worth it. It was cold and snowing, probably the worst that I'd seen in 15 years, but it was well worth it. What an adventure. And I did several interviews while I was over there, a couple of on-air radio interviews, and doing basically the same format where we were posting these same songs. The recurrent question is, when can we expect a CD?
Right.
So I would have to quasi-lie and say, oh, it's coming this year. Well, it's coming this year, and I'm very happy to report that, and I hope that some of my friends in the UK get a piece of this, and that they're actually excited by that prospect.
Well, hopefully they're watching us on Ustream right now, and they're going, okay, does he mean it this time?
I mean it. I mean it. I swear, it's coming.
All right. So, of course, you come on, you did get the proverbial picture of you walking across Abbey Road.
Did
right?
do the Beetle Walk. And, here's the funny thing, Keith. I've owned probably 6 or 7 copies of Abbey Road, at least 4 on vinyl, 2 on cassette that I can remember. And I never put it together that crossing is only a half a block away from Abbey Road Studios. There's actually a webcam set up there, and you can go to the Abbey Road website and click on different days, different times. Like in our circumstance, there were a lot of Disney people there at the studio because they do a lot of movie soundtrack work in Studio One, which is this huge, huge cave of a room. But it was all set up with chairs and mics, 2 rows facing each other for the different string sections and whatnot, and literally crawling in Disney personnel. Well, I went to their website and tried to check it out to see if we were actually on the webcam, and it only gives you like an hourly update or something, but there I'm catching Mickey Mouse doing the Beetle Walk.
I've checked that website out, and yeah, you can see some funny shit going on there. Well, you're a Beatle man, so you can appreciate this. I used to have up until a few years ago, I had a sealed up, never been opened LP of the White Album. I had it locked in my safe, at home and everything. Then a few years back, my second ex-wife, we had some friends over or something one night, and I took the album out to show it to some friends or whatever, and I gave it to her to put back into the safe, and she didn't. She just walked in the room and just set it down and didn't actually put it back in the safe. So the next day, when my now second ex-wife set my house on fire, it burnt up in the fire.
Oh.
Yeah, the sad thing is, you know what the insurance company said that album was worth? Unopened, never been opened, sealed, White Album. Yeah, they gave me 25 cents for it.
Incredible. That
25 cents.
That's just not right. I'm happy to report that my youngest son, on Father's Day a couple years ago, gifted me with a magazine he'd run across. It was like one of those 60s fanzines, like Tiger Beat.
Right.
Remember 16, 17?
Yeah.
Well, this was a 16 magazine, but it was the Beatles, their complete life story. But this was 1965, so it's the life story really hadn't been written yet. And even funnier is it's like you open the front flap and there's 4 pictures of the mop tops, and Paul's got a cigarette in his hand taking a drag. This is geared toward a teen market. That would not happen in this day and age.
Right.
You go through the magazine a little further, and there's like the guys all have drinks in their hands. It just wouldn't happen. We tend to dumb that down over here nowadays.
Yeah, we do.
We're so politically correct that it sucks.
Yes, it does. Trust me, you will get no argument there from me. It definitely does suck. We are too politically correct. I'm just still getting over the fact that you said, it's the 1965, the life story of the Beatles.
Story, yeah, the complete
I'm like,
life story.
The Beatles only discovered America like a year before that.
Yeah. Actually, I'm from New York originally, and I was living in Long Island when the Beatles first landed in February of '64. So 65 would have been the second U.S. tour.
Right.
And they didn't tour after, I believe it was a San Francisco Candlestick Park concert, 66. McCartney's Hofner fiddle bass still has the set list taped to it from that last engagement. And he still tours with that bass, actually, and it's like the cellophane tape around it is like yellow and cracking, but it's there, the set list from that last show.
Wow, just make sure he has it locked up and he doesn't have a wife that sets his house on fire. Then the insurance company will only give him like a nickel for it.
Yeah, right. Well, I think it'd be 5 pence over there, but
oh, that's right. This is over.
They tax the hell out of that.
We're not far behind here.
But it's actually a good segue for this other tune, Old School, which again features Pat Buffalo on vocals, Matt Laporte, my core group of musicians on that 2004 project that saw new life in 2009 and is continuing to be resuscitated even as we speak. Because basically Old School, it's kind of a flashback. It's me talking about what it was like to be a kid in Louisville, Kentucky in '75 when I was first really getting into the whole musical thing, And of course, none of us did it because we wanted to be Svengalis on our instruments. We wanted chicks,
That's why everybody starts a band. I mean, come on, let's face it.
Yeah, come on. Here it is. It's out there in the open, folks. But it's a fun little tune, and it's got some poignant vocals. Actually, I wrote it while I had taken my oldest son to St. Pete College, and he was inside, and I'm sitting in the parking lot sweating, and I'm watching this bus dropping off passengers, and I see all these blue-collar workers, and it just reminded me of how we all start off with dreams at a certain point in our life, and then reality comes along and smacks them right the hell out of us. And I think that this is a nice crossover, and hopefully the listeners can relate to the lyrics if they're in that position. We all got to work. We're all working-class heroes out there.
That's right. All right, well, here we go, and here is Old School. There we go.
From living in the town, worked out every day, burned and bit by the sun. And when the weekend rolls around, we like to have some fun. Get all the dosage of pills and packs and biggies. Just see some brown drums, forget no daily regrets. Work out every day, now this bones where there were fingers. Like to have a fun, but feeling seldom fingers. Dead set in our ways, but now we're told so much. I miss good old days, now that we've become old school. Now that
All right, and there you have it. Old school.
Yeah, sorry about that. Like Adult, I got the wrong version loaded on, so we missed Matt Laporte's brilliant guitar solos on there. But you get the general gist of it lyrically, I hope.
You know, and you jumped right on there taking the blame for that. I was going to take the blame, you know, since you were my guest. I was going to sit here and say I queued up the, you know, the wrong one or something. But
Nah, man, it is what it is, you know.
anyway, yeah, you know, not the version you were expecting or whatever, and yeah, unfortunately, didn't have Matt Laporte's guitar on it, but still a good song nonetheless.
Well, as mentioned earlier, too, these tracks are being dressed up currently by my good friend Tim Daly at Hinterland Recording up in the Great Northeast. He's audio tech for ABC TV, and he's actually helping me out with this in his spare time. As he states it, the studio in the can killed his business a long time ago. He's got a good job, so he looks for projects that he's interested in, just helps out the artist, and I mean, he's a real saint for that. So, when we do have the finalized product, well, you'll hear it here first.
Good. No, I can't
Just to
wait.
make amends, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I can't wait to hear them. Definitely. And as far as what you're doing right now down here with your band's trip and everything, when can you have any scheduled upcoming shows going on that people can come out and see you?
Well, we're doing a lot of work down at the Clock Tower in Treasure Island currently. So Chris and I will be doing Trip Squared from 5 to 8 this coming Saturday. And then also we have a brand new jam session that we started up at Sneaky's on Ulmerton Road. Sneaky's Sports Bar and Grill. I think we're going into our 6th week currently, and we have the lovely Carla Jenkins as our hostess there. It's very acoustically friendly, so you know, a lot of jams are slanted toward the blues, or maybe some are a little more rock. But this is one where if you're an acoustic guitarist, bring it on. If you're a bongo player, you know, light percussion. If you're great with a kazoo, a triangle, bring it out. You know, that's what we're saying with that. And eventually, we hope to build it up into, you know, a consistent, steady Monday night gig. It's been growing each week, but I would consider it to be on a slow boil. However, I would like to invite everybody who is available to do so on Wednesday, May 8th, to join Tara and I for our monumental rockin' wedding reception, and that will be at the Clock Tower, where Trip Squared will also be performing from 5 to 8 out on the deck. And inside the club, we'll be performing as Trip Cubed with Mr. Pat Buffo on drums, and that will be from 9 till 1. And there will be tons of our local rock luminaries there. The Illuminati will be out in force that night.
I'm so wicked making you play 2 gigs on our wedding day.
Well, you know, this is the nature of our business, is it not, my sweet?
Amen.
Hey, I'm just gonna give you kudos to the fact that you're getting married, and then you're still going to be able to get up there and perform a couple times.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. That's what I'm counting on.
But okay.
As long as I don't start tippling too early in the day.
I'll keep an eye on you.
Well, there you go. Spoken like a married woman.
And plus, you know, I'm sure you're going to have I mean, come on, you're doing something the night before, man. You're right. You're going out and having some sort of bachelor party.
Well, no, I'm not actually. We had Tara's bachelorette bash. We did that at the Porpoise Pub, 2 weeks ago?
20th, yeah.
With our good friends in Diamond Gray on stage.
Yeah.
Great band. Great band.
Oh, absolutely.
Please go see those guys. They are just, you know, they're at the top of the heap, really. And just fun people to be with, too. And actually, Mark Welsh, bass player, is the fellow that I bought my SVT cabinet from. So, there you go, Mark. There's your big plug, because every time there's a picture of that on my website, you always comment. Now you got it on audio, too.
No, you're absolutely right. Diamond Gray is an excellent band. I've said it myself several times. I've had Diamond Gray. I've had them out. They've played at several of me and my partner, Cam Babb's Promotions. They've played at several of our gigs. They actually just did it the 21st at our AMP show at the Porpoise Pub.
Right on.
They're all great guys. Not only are they all talented musicians, Dennis, I've said it before, and I'll say it again, Dennis is one of my favorite vocalists here going around in the local scene right now.
That guy's got some pipes, man.
In the range, I mean,
I'm telling you.
But but on top of it, not just musically speaking, they're, like you said, they're all a bunch of great guys.
Great guys.
They're just great guys to know.
And that means everything. It's I did a couple of signing sessions while I was on tour, and I was blown away by that with JLP. Dessel, Belgium, the second show that we did. We were taken by golf cart to this booth, and here we all are standing in a line, and here comes people with their Savatage swag, and you meet 300 people in almost like a reception line, sign all this material for them, and they are just so grateful to shake your hand. And then they come out to the festival tent where we played to 17,000 people, and you get to, people had asked me, weren't you nervous? You don't have a chance to be nervous, because basically what happens is while you're waiting in the wings and things are getting set up and you're seeing the front pack out and then the middle pack out, and so it goes, this ocean of people out there. The lights go down and your intro music comes up, and they start cheering right away, and it's like this big wave rolling toward the stage of energy. And then the four lesser schmucks come out on stage, and our techs put our instruments on us, and the crowd gets a little louder, and then John Oliva appears on stage, and they go totally apeshit. It's like this huge wave of positive energy is just smacking you upside the head, and there's nothing that you can do but go, game on, let's do it, And then 60 or 90 minutes later, you're done, and you're going, wait, I'm not finished yet. This is too good. But that's the way it rolls that way.
Yep. Well, let's see. So we got May 8th is your rock and roll wedding bash down at the Clock Tower. That's at down in Treasure Island.
Indeed, it is.
Some good friends of mine, John Sweeney and Joanne Dorn, I know do a lot of work down there at the Clock Tower and everything.
Yeah, John and Joanne have just been beautiful people to us. I believe Tara and Joanne first struck up a friendship on Facebook while Tara was still in the UK.
Oh.
And through them, that's how Trip Squared became, how we acquired this gig, and they're just great people to work with. They really are, lovely people.
Yeah, they are. So hope a lot of people come down there, check you guys out, check out the Trip bands and everything, and wish you, of course, congratulations and happy marriage.
Well, thank you so much.
I definitely know I am trying to. I'm definitely going to try and make my way down there.
Well, you better. You're the best man.
Oh, God help you! If that was the case, your marriage would be over, because that would just be bad luck right there.
No, I am actually having two best men, though. Dana Piper, my longtime compatriot, and then Chris Tripp, who I've been working with, as mentioned, for the last several years. It's like, I could easily have 10 best men, because there's just 25 best men. It's like all these great musicians that I've been so blessed to work with over the course of time. They're brothers, and they are best men.
Right.
They are the best of men. I don't think I can add anything to that. They are just the best of men.
All right. Well, anything else? I feel bad here. We should get some more. I'd love to talk to Tara a little bit more and see if she's got anything to add or anything she'd like to say on it. I always feel bad. I'm sitting here, next next to a beautiful woman, and I can't get them usually to talk to me, so I should at least make sure that I can get them to talk on the radio.
Well, like I said, I'm just a bass playing schmuck. I'd be concentrating over there. Tara's the brains in this organization.
Isn't that usually how it always is, though?
Well, if you're lucky.
Look at Ozzy.
Well, that's a funny reference because Tara is very quick to point out Ronnie James Dio's wife, as opposed to Sharon Osbourne, who everybody knows.
Right.
But Ronnie James Dio's wife was the woman behind the man, but she stayed out of the spotlight. They didn't have to have like a phony reality show, folks.
What? You mean that wasn't real?
I don't think so.
I much prefer Wendy Dio.
I had an ex of mine who thought every reality show was real, and she total shocker to her when I told her one time. I says, "Well, that stuff, is scripted and this and it's not real, but it says reality show."
Yeah, well, don't believe everything you read or hear,
It
folks.
is TV, it is show business,
The only reality show I can think of that I ever focused on was Cops, but I only did that for my own personal market research.
That's because you were on it, right?
To learn what not to do, to make sure I practiced, make sure I practiced what not to do.
All right, well, Jason and Tara, I want to thank you both for coming in and sitting down with me and getting a little bit of, the word out about what you're doing and everything now.
My absolute pleasure.
And, before I take us out here, which I think I'm going to go back and play, I think I'm going to go play Let It Bang and let that take us out, play that again.
How apropos.
Yeah, I tell you. Anything you'd like to add?
Oh, just let me say thanks to everybody that has tuned in and everybody that has been so supportive over the years. You can't take this too lightheartedly. You might be in the local market, but you have to believe in what you're doing. You have to get up there and do it in front of people. And it's always just the boon, when you get that appreciation back. And I'm very grateful for that. I am intrinsically grateful for that. Just to have the opportunity to be able to do this over and over, and that people seem to care about it. That's the big plus right there. That's the big kiss.
Absolutely, it is, because God knows, as nobody, musicians, especially, around here, you're not doing it for the money, that's for sure.
Well, let me get over to Tara on this. What was it Aldo Nova said about playing one of these festivals that was coming up? Something like, "Oh, I don't do that anymore."
He's evolved.
He's evolved,
He doesn't do
yeah.
concerts anymore, apparently.
He's evolved, folks. So don't buy his shit. Buy mine.
Yeah, that's right.
It's stuff like that amazes me, but anyway, definitely, and everybody listening out there right now, it's, the only thing I would want to add is please, I know it's said a lot, but there is truth in it, and you have to support, if you're a fan of music and everything, and you have to support especially your local scene, and I don't care where you're listening from, even if you're not listening, from Tampa Bay, if you're out there in another area, support your local music scene, get out there, listen to a band, buy their merchandise, their CD if you like them and everything, and help support them, because God knows, the musicians, especially when they're starting out, but even if you devote a career to music, the chances of you making it just huge and becoming rich and being the next Ozzy Osbourne or Ronnie James Dio or whoever, it's a shot in the dark. So, support them as much as you can, and you never know when it's just not going to be there anymore for you to support, Scenes dry up, they come and go, they hit their peaks, then they die out, and you just never know when it's not there. And it's the fans and everything that go out and help support the music scene that make sure it keeps it on that even keel and keeps it to where it keeps going and it's fresh,
I think that, you have to be true to your own temple. It's great to have inspiration from outside sources. Mine were like British blues rock bands in particular, Stones, Zeppelin, Humble Pie, you know. But I never wanted to be those guys. I always wanted to be myself. So, you know, be true to your own temple. Do it because it's what you love to do. Don't go out there and fake it. Don't go out there and be a puppet. We all have to play cover tunes.
Right.
But, you know, at the same time, be true to yourself. Be true to your own school, you know.
Yeah, well,
be true to your old school.
It goes back to, like you were saying earlier, about, you know, if it's not fun anymore, you know, get out of it. Well, it's the same thing about, you know, keep it true, too. Do what you enjoy doing, and, you know, make sure what you're playing, what you're writing, what you're doing is sincere, you know, sincerity.
That's it, sincerity.
And it's coming right from your heart. And that, you know, whether you're worried somebody else is not going to like it or not, or, you know, it's so much better, you know, to make sure you're doing stuff that you truly believe in and that you truly care about. You'll get so much more out of it than if you just, you know, doing stuff just to make always somebody else say, well, this is what somebody else is going to like. All right, that's fine, and it may be somebody else like, but if you don't like it, it's not gonna work for you, and you know it won't be fun anymore eventually.
It's like the Isley brothers said, it's your thing.
Do what you want to do. Do what you want to do. All right, well, Jason, thank you so much again for coming down here. I appreciate you coming in and letting us know what's going on with you. And, of course, Tara, thank you for coming down as well. And congratulations again on you two on your wedding. And,
Bless you, sir. Thank you.
I wish you all the best of luck. It's going to be a while before I go down that road again for the third time, but...
Well, you know, it's the right one comes along when you least expect it. It's when you're not looking for it, you get blindsided. In my case, it's because they drive on the wrong side of the road.
There we go.
Yes, we do.
The Back to the Future thing, she hit you. She hit you with the car, didn't she? All right, well, thanks a lot for coming down. We're going to go ahead and take it out with we're going to play Let It Bang one more time and take us out with that. While I'm here, I would like to thank once again the legendary Craven Moorhead and Pirate Radio Network 102.1 FM for allowing me to come back in here once again, and want to thank Craven, of course, so much. Great supporter of the local music scene here, and with what he's doing with both the radio station, the bar and grill, and all that. So I definitely applaud him for doing a great job, as always, and bringing me back in here as well. Anyone out there listening, you want to check me out, you can go on and read my column. If you don't subscribe to my column in the Examiner, go to keithwilkins.net. You can get all the links on there, and you will definitely see a couple articles coming out here soon in the near future on Jason Jennings and his projects. I can promise you that. So anyway, let's take us out now with Let It Bang one more time.